asses they're gonna kick. Jimmy's the only one of them guys that can really kick anybody's ass. Jimmy ain't real tall, but he's got muscles pert near big as Captain Midnight's, and like John says, Jimmy knows how to use his fists when he's gotta. I tell him I know a few asses I'd like to kick, and Jimmy tells me to shut up or he's gonna fart in my face. I know he will too, so I shut up. Them trees along the road to the mill pond look like butt-naked skinny girls against the sky that's bright from a fat moon. Jimmy told me once that them fat circle moons remind him of a big white titty. Of course, he thinks everything looks like a titty. We turn off Mill Street and head down the dirt road that goes to the mill pond. Louis drives so fast over the bumps that I bang my head on the roof. Louis jams on the brakes and we stop real fast. Beer slops down the front of John's shirt and he pisses and moans about it like he's going to the town hall for a fancy-up dance instead of grubbing for suckers at the mill pond. We stand on the bank and rip our shoes and socks off. I know damn well it's going to be cold as shit in that rushing water, the snow here in Wisconsin not being gone all that long when them suckers start wriggling up river looking for a place to drop their eggs. We're all laughing and joking and having a good time. Ain't nothing more fun than spearing suckers with Jimmy and the guys. "Hey, Earwig," John says as he balls up a sock and throws it at me. "I hear you tried chopping off Edna Pritchard's fat leg." Floyd and Louis start to laughing. I talk real loud so John can hear me above the laughing and the whooshing of the water. "I wasn't trying to chop her leg off. That's the God's honest truth." "That's right," Jimmy says, talking all mumbled 'cause he's got a camel sticking out of the corner of his mouth. "He wasn't trying to cut off her leg. He was trying to measure her fat ass." This makes them laugh all the harder. "Tell us the story, Earwig," Floyd says, so I tell him. I tell him how Dad said, right there at the table while buttering a piece of nut bread Mrs. Pritchard brought, that Edna Pritchard has the biggest ass he ever seed on a woman. Dad said, "That ass has got to be at least 3 axe handles wide." Well, that didn't sound right to me, I tell the guys, and it didn't. Mrs. Pritchard has a fat ass. Sure as my name's Earl Hedwig Gunderman. But 3 axe handles wide, that just didn't sound right to me, so I wait till I hear her big mouth yapping in the store. Then I go out to the woodpile real fast, and I fetch myself the axe. Then I go back into the store, whistling so as no one thinks I'm up to something, and I start tagging after Mrs. Pritchard. Ma and her was talking about that Dickens girl getting polio, and what a pity it will be if her legs get all crippled, and how, worse yet, if that little girl dies, her mama's heart's gonna cripple up too, and she'll die right along with her. Mrs. Pritchard is looking at cans of applesauce while she talks, 'cause she's gonna make some gingerbread, and Mr. Pritchard won't eat gingerbread unless it's got applesauce poured over the top. "Christ sakes," Jimmy says as he roots around in our stuff for a spear. "Get to the goddamn point of the story, Earwig." But he ain't mad when he says it, 'cause he's laughing. "Well," I tell him, "I goed up behind Mrs. Pritchard, holding that axe like this." And I show him how I holded it, sideways like, right behind her fat ass. "And it sure is a fat ass," I say. And Floyd holds his skinny guts that are sunk in like a bowl and asks how would I like to hose that fat ass. And I say I wouldn't like that at all. Jimmy says, "The story, Earwig. Get to the point of the goddamn story." So I go on with the story. I tell him how I was holding that axe up crossways, following behind her, and how when she walks, her ass under that dress looks like 2 bulls fighting under a sheet of mill felt. Then Ma looks up and sees me behind Mrs. Pritchard, who ain't so far seeing nothing but that can of applesauce in her hand and Ma yells, "Earl Hedwig Gunderman, what on earth are you doing with that axe?" And Mrs. Pritchard starts to turn, and she sees me holding that axe, and she starts to screaming. I get all scared 'cause her scream is as big as her ass, and that axe falls right out of my hands just as her fat legs are turning her around. Floyd is slapping the ground with his hand, laughing real hard. I turn to Louie, who is laughing too, but not so hard he can't hear me. "You ever see an axe fall, Louie? It don't fall flat and nice at all. That cutting part, it falls first, making it look like a ghost is fixing to split a chunk of wood, and that axe come right down on Mrs. Pritchard's fat ankle. Jimmy is laughing till he's choking out. Cut through her fat, almost right down to the bone. Floyd laughs till his dark hair is slapping his forehead like a horse's tail. Old fat ass starts hopping around like she's got a rat trying to crawl up the crack of her ass, and Earwig here goes nuts like he always does when he gets rattled. He starts slapping the sides of his head, almost knocking himself out. Then Pritchard really loses it. They're all in stitches now, only I'm starting to think it ain't so goddamn funny. Ain't nothing funny about blood, all red and shiny, spewing out of somebody's fat ankle. Jimmy shakes his head. Ma starts in with her, "Oh, good Lord! Oh, good Lord!" and she runs to fetch a towel. Then she gets down on all fours trying to get that towel slung around Pritchard's ankle to stop the bleeding. That Pritchard was going nuts, yelling that Earwig had tried to kill her, and Ma was going nuts, screaming at me to go get Dr. McCormick. I had to leave then, so I missed the rest of that freak show. Them guys start joking about how I should have chopped a chunk of her ass off while I was at it, but I ain't listening too hard to 'em now. I'm trying to get Mrs. Pritchard's words out of my head. Them words, "You should have locked that boy up long ago, Eileen." Ma didn't make me mop up that blood that was already seeping into the cracks of the floor, turning it all dark by the time Dr. McCormick come and took Mrs. Pritchard back in the kitchen to stitch her fat back together. Ma, she came back into the store with a pail of soapy water and started scrubbing with the bunched rag. She made me stand right there where she could keep an eye on me. She sounded all winded, like she'd just run all the way down Main Street and back without stopping as she preached at me about minding my P's and Q's and not scaring people. "So," John asks after he lights his lucky strike, "how many axe handles wide is the old bag's ass anyway, Earwig?" "Well, I didn't exactly get to finish measuring it," I tell him, "but I got as far as knowing it's more than one axe handle wide, that's for sure." I'm real glad when the guys get done laughing and go back to talking about titties and kicking ass. I go to the trunk of Louie's car to get the bucket we use for keeping the beer cold. I take that bucket and dig the rest of those Schlitz bottles out from under the seat and put them in the bucket. Then I bring the bucket to the groove in the bank that Louie cut out, leaving a little ditch so the water fills up the hole some. I put water in the pail and I set the pail in that little ditch. While I do this, Floyd and John are getting some wood for the little fire that Jimmy's leaning over, huffing into the thick smoke to get the flame sparking. When we get everything all set up perfect-like, Jimmy hands me a spear, reminding me to stay on them flat rocks in the shallow part. Jimmy knows I can't swim for shit. The guys head upstream, laughing as they slosh through the water, their arms pumping, each of them taking turns bitching about how cold the water is. The water looks like silver coins swirling in beer foam. I steady myself on a rock and stare real hard through them swirls. I wait for a dark shadow to come along, 'cause that would be one of them suckers. Suckers are ugly critters if I ever seed one, with scales big as fingernails and round mouths that move like an asshole trying to squeeze out a turd. Them suckers are mighty ugly, But after Louis sets 'em up in his smokehouse for a time, they end up tasting mighty damn good. I see